Hello. Today we're going to be talking about a topic called diverse measures, differing measures, differing weights, dishonest scales. Yeah, it's the theme scripture here is Proverbs 20, verse 23, and it reads, "An abomination to Yahweh, differing and weights and scales dishonest are not good." I'll read it in another version so that it's clear. Proverbs 20 verse 23, "Diverse weights are an abomination to the Lord, and dishonest scales are not good." I believe you've heard how these are just studies that people do in commercials. They study and they've come to the understanding that in socialism everyone shares the wealth, right? But in communism everyone shares the poverty. The world knows this too. So I'm going to be talking about these differing scales and differing weights and dishonest measures and dishonest scales. Okay. So before I start, I have to put a disclaimer, because we are going to be talking about things that concern finances. So I have to put a disclaimer, because I do know that anything to do with finances and whatnot is a let me put it a hot topic. I don't know if it's the right terminology, but yeah, okay. It's a place where you have to tread softly with people. It's a sensitive topic, so I do understand. I'll put a disclaimer before I start this topic, just so that no one thinks I require a gift, right? I don't, but I am teaching a principle I live by. You understand? Because I know there are people who are due to receive my giving, both giving tangible things other than this teaching, and also this teaching which I am giving. And when I teach the gospel, I can only share myself and what I practice. The gospel according to courage. You understand? So after this message, don't be made to feel the burden of debt towards me, which I have chosen not to require. I require nothing, just to teach as I was instructed. Understand? I will also not deny gifts, because I cannot disadvantage your being blessed via it. You understand? I cannot disadvantage your being blessed via it. So I will not deny gifts. But then, okay, I am 100% certain and know this, that when men do not pay, God still causes due substance to gravitate to you or to anyone who's worthy to receive those things, eh? And it is one of the topics that I will teach below. Yeah. This is so that the one who gives never feels entitled to lord over the one they give to. I never asked for gifts, and I'm not asking for gifts right now. It's like how a kid never asks to be cared for by the parent, but the parent has a tendency of just doing it and requiring others to do it for their kid and holding them accountable, even sending the child to school to say, "My mom and my dad and my sibling said you should take care of me," and take care of others too equally. You understand? I am just that kid. So I'm just coming to you. It's not a request whatsoever. It's a teaching. It will apply to you. It will apply to me. I have to practice what I teach. You will see as we go forward that things will gravitate to you from me. Things, both tangible things and like physical assets, substance. Let me say substance. Even sometimes it's money, sometimes it's what. So it's not only about you. This teaching is for us all. Okay. So now that I've cleared that up, the point number one, I want to talk about this concept. It's in the world already. So they say what you give is what you get, right? Of which biblically it's actually also applicable, because what you got without you having given the equivalent percentage of your wealth gravitated to you only because the Lord, intending to redistribute that wealth, has used you as a warehouse to just keep it for a while before unfortunate circumstances. They are called unfortunate in the world. They are not unfortunate. It's just the right, like justice, until unfortunate circumstances sends it to the right person or another warehouse person and another before it reaches the right one. You understand? How he does that is by allowing in all his power for other jobs to go underpaid and other jobs to not be considered on the payment grid, like those lists that they do for jobs and whatnot, to say the minimum wage is this and whatnot. There are jobs that where people are actually doing the work, but they don't appear there. So it's like when you don't appear on that list, it's almost as if this system is saying you earn $0. You understand? So non-profiteering, when all gifts were given for men to profit with them, as the Bible says, the gifts were given not only to benefit the church. It is said to be as a way so that people can be edified in the church, right? But that same verse and verses that support that also go on and say, so that men may profit with them, so that you may profit with them. It's like that's also an additional, because how can you then? The Bible says, if you cannot muzzle a cow when it is plowing, it's like you cannot cover the mouth of a cow from grazing when it is plowing. You are doing the work, so something should gravitate to you. That's the thing. So non-profiteering gifts, when all gifts were given for men to profit with them. You understand? So there are gifts that are not profiting right now, but they were given for people to profit with them, as the Bible says. He first allows this by not meddling in the unjust affairs of men, of not paying some, of underpaying some, and of overpaying some. Today we are not talking about the ones who get their right share. They are there. So we are not painting or paying men with the same paintbrush. The wisdom why God does that, to allow all this unfairness to go on, is that since they are willing to overpay other jobs or offer unfair shares or unfair measures to family members, to their friends, to the people they favor, God plans that when that wealth does get to them, and he in all his might uses what they call acts of God. The world calls this acts of God, to redistribute it randomly, not to the exact victim who was stolen from, when that money skipped them in these unfair schemes of men to profiteer themselves and the ones they desire, but to a random person who has that money due to them. You understand? That money, like wind, will blow and will gravitate towards whoever has been giving their gift and not being paid for it. So it's more like I'm saying, don't look to the place where you say they unjustly took my money, or they unjustly didn't give me my money. Don't look at those places for the money that's about to come to you. The money that's about to gravitate to you in where you have worked might not even come from the place that you have worked. You understand? But it will, for a sure fact, gravitate to you. It can happen that it comes from there, but most of the times what God does is He is it's like He has power beyond measure. You understand? So He can cause things to gravitate to you that they will say they are not even due you because they don't know where you did the work. You understand what I'm saying? That's what God does. He has a way of doing such surprising things. Plus, He's also in the business of surprising you. So it's a thing that He wants you to be surprised as well. Beyond whatever you can think or imagine. That's what He pre-plans for your life. You understand? Point number 2, you cannot gain anything by not giving, but you are not allowed to give so that you gain something. You understand? You cannot gain anything by not giving, but you are not allowed to give so that you gain something. You give into others' needs, right? And not wants, but needs. You understand? When help is required, do not resist help from him who needs it when it is in your power to do so. The Bible says this, right? There are things you have been given power to do by God. You have been mandated to do, and you know this from observing your natural and your supernatural abilities against the instructions side by side with, what I'm saying is, side by side with the instructions you receive from dreams, visions, and trance. So trance, right? Yeah. So someone might say, I don't remember the dream. But in our previous audio, I talked about how no matter how you can forget a dream, it still leaves an inspiration in your everyday, because God speaks to every man once or twice daily, right? In dreams, visions, and trance. And like, this is what the Bible says, right? And like any movie or song or experience you saw and forgot, even if it was that you forgot this, and even if it was that you forgot, like any experience that you saw and forgot, the lesson you learned or motivation you got is intrinsically written on your soul. It's like it's there, it's written on your soul. So when you wake up, whatever you act out is either toward God or away from God's advice from the dream, depending on whether you are still in rebellion to Him or are for Him and therefore for Jesus, right? So what you will act out and experience that day is exactly what the dream inspired, whether for or against it. And whatever lesson you get in that day, knowing that God drops a bare minimum of one lesson per day. You understand? A bare minimum of one lesson per day. That lesson is, if you act for God, the next place your resources should gravitate to. So He will be showing you where your resources should be gravitating to if you are for God, right? But okay. And it's the exact opposite of what you claim to have learned from the experience of the day. If you are against God, right? If you are acting against God, it's more like if you acted against God, against whatever the dream, the vision, the trance was trying to teach you, the exact opposite of what you claim to have learned from the experience of the day is where, if you choose God, the exact opposite is where you should use those resources. You understand? So it turns out to be the order with which you experience things requiring help from you. In that same order is also the order with which you dish out help. Because it's always about looking at the thing that asked for help yesterday and helping it today. And the thing from today that requires help waiting for tomorrow's substance to be helped tomorrow. If many things pop up on the same day, that you share according to need, as the disciples did at I think during that period where there was a talk of Antioch and where they were first called Christians and whatnot. But it was around that area where Peter taught people, and Peter taught people at the Pentecost, is it? Then people gathered together, brought whatever they had, they shared according to need. You understand? sharing according to need means whoever has less and requires more gets more, and whoever has more and therefore requires less gets less. You understand? One might ask, what if something urgent that takes precedent requires help today? You understand? And it has happened today. How does this get solved? Do we just ignore it and leave it unattended until tomorrow when it will be too late? There is a wisdom for that, and it is below. So that's the point number 3. You understand? Yeah. So point number 3, also if the thing requires urgency, quickness, weights today's issue, but also requires substance or help today, and people have been caught unawares, first fruits happen to you unawares. And you understand? It is the first of its kind and has surprised you. First fruits are what you give when you are surprised. You understand? For example, how by surprise Saul learned that Samuel was near where they were, and they had to inquire of the Lord about the lost donkeys they were looking for. Right? Initially, they didn't have that plan, but because he was near, they went, and because of the surprise, they had to prepare whatever they could bring to him, because they said, we can't come into the presence of the Lord without anything in our hand. And sometimes it is all you have. You understand? Because for example, it is something you haven't split beforehand, knowing you would have to share it. You understand? So what Saul gave was an offering, because it was before the men of God did anything for them, but an offering surnamed first fruit, which also later was given a second name, seed. I will talk about first fruit, seed, and offering, and you will understand what I mean. When the men of so the seed, it was called second named seed when the men of God also did work for them. You understand? But we will go deeper into these first fruit, seeds, and whatnot. So first fruit also happens to you every time you give the best of its kind, the best of whatever you're giving to God, right? So whatever giving you can give can also be surnamed first fruit, when it is the best in comparison to what is left to you. You understand? So we are to give where need. This is point number, should be point number 4, right? We are to give where need is, knowing where need is. We are to give where need is, knowing we are not to withhold help if it is in our power to give it. You understand? That's so when you give help like that, that's an alm. It's called an alm. You understand? ALM. And where work has been done, others' gifts have been used by them for your benefit, toward your benefit. That's a seed. So if you give, that's a seed that you give them for them to be multiplied. However, any type of giving can be called a seed, because after all, it is a tendency of multiplying also to the benefit of the giver. You, the giver, as seed does that. You the giver, as seed does once it's given to the soil. So you to the benefit of the giver, as seed does once it is given to the soil. You understand? So it will be for your benefit when you give the seed to the soil, because it will produce, you understand, for you. So a seed has a tendency that whatever work has been done is multiplied to you when you seed into it, as it was seeded into you, as you appreciated it. You get what I mean? An offering is given just as a form of honor, regardless they are more honorable or less honorable than you. Not that anything has been done for you, but as a form of celebrating someone or something. Whatever is honorable about them, so it can happen that a person can feel celebrated elsewhere than in another place. You understand? Abel's offering can be more pleasing than Cain's. Whoever puts more value on God will be honored more. He checks this against what you have. You remember the woman at the offering basket who Jesus said gave just, I think it was just a coin, maybe a denarii or something, I don't remember, but gave, and Jesus said, but this lady, in as much as she has given that coin, only that coin, but has given more than all, because she gave all her livelihood in that money. All her livelihood was given in that money. You understand? She valued God above her own life. That's just it. Then there is the tithe. The tithe now is 10%, is so that not to say it's 10%, but tithe, the term itself means 10. You understand? It means 10. So the tithe is so that there is food in the house of God. You understand? That's what the Bible talks about when it talks about tithe. That's tithe, right? Tithe. One might say I have many people that minister to me, that are a house of God to me, given that everyone is and can be the temple of the Most High God toward you. Can be a king and a priest to you. This is biblical. We are called to be kings and priests, right? I will therefore describe to you what tithe is in these terms. When people forget to give each other and go on to forget to pay some of the jobs, God has a tendency of bringing laws that will require you to pay just the bare minimum for their survival. The concept of tithing is God addressing hunger in the job. He assigned those who he called to do priestly duties to you, which job description in times present as in times past has never been put on a, like those payment lists in many societies, right? So you will think it is only what God requires because you didn't pay attention to its origin story, like the tithe. Abraham just met a guy called Melchizedek. This is King Melchizedek, is it? And he was a priest, a high priest, right? And tithed to him. He was coming from a battle. They met him. Melchizedek blessed Abraham. He was still Abraham. And then when he was blessed, Abraham gave 10% of everything. I want to show you how tithe is not being needed in a house of stone alone, but how it is being required wherever those that worship him in spirit and in truth. Where this godly exchange happens, is happened when Melchizedek blessed, Abraham. Okay, when God required tithes, saying, you steal and rob me, he talked about it in terms of the people they were stealing from, and therefore he said, bring it to my temple so that there may be food in my house. However, if you understand how it originated, you soon understand when the New Testament tells you that you are the temple of the Most High God, it actually means people can even tithe to you as to anyone, as long as there is a form of worship in spirit and in truth there that you have caused to emanate out of them to God. These types of jobs, right, are rarely ever paid and are usually not on the listed jobs that get paid in any system of the world. Be ye not conformed to these systems, right? So, as the Bible teaches, right? So, tithe really is the bare minimum. And it can be given anyway. So can offerings, seeds, and alms. It is meant to give supply to the people or society for God to pay. But initially, Abraham was just giving, and the people are just lucky he went to 10%. You get what I mean? Tithe became 10%, but really he was just giving, right? He could have gone even higher or much lower. I'm just saying. It's like when Abel and Cain gave the first mentioned offerings. If you check the offerings you give now, they don't even look like the ones they gave. Their types of offerings were given for a lot of times in the Old Testament and some parts of the New, but they kept being changed even by God's instruction. For example, the sin offering. Until now, when we don't even until now when we don't even until now when we don't even use what they used, because ours is a different Jesus. You get what I mean? Our sin offering is a different Jesus, so we don't have to offer him up every time. He offered once and it was for all. So and the rest of the offerings are now more monetary than they are physical objects or living things, because they are more monetary than they are living things, because society has shifted from barter trade to a cash-centered economy. So you will think the issue is on 10% when the issue is on giving, where giving was lacking. Tithe, no matter the term, is defined as 10%. Tithe is simply whatever you give to a place where giving was forgotten. All I'm trying to say, in as much as we might say 10, 10, 10, right? It can be any amount, even above 10, even lower than 10. The idea is you're giving into something that has been forgotten. You get what I mean? Tithe is simply whatever you give to a place where giving has been forgotten. If you look at what happened when Abraham gave tithes to Melchizedek, you know that there was a forgetting that happened. Let me show you. Abraham refused gifts from other kings who approached him and celebrated him when he had won the battles defending his brother, right? Recovering whatever had been taken from his brother. I think his brother was taken captive or something. So Abraham refused gifts from other kings, saying, "You think by giving me you have made me to prosper, when it is God." And instead Abraham himself gave Melchizedek, and they forgot to give the one who was forgotten to be given, and it was counted faith to Abraham. You should understand that these kings approached Abraham to give him gifts, but they wouldn't give the other king that was with him who blessed Abraham. It's like there was a priest with them when they approached Abraham, but they didn't give to the priest. They only wanted to give to Abraham, right? So he was the one who was forgotten, and Abraham did not forget the man. So it's like he refused from their offer. He refused what they tried to give him, but he gave Melchizedek himself, and Melchizedek still received his, for it was counted faith what he did, right? So Abraham refused gifts from other kings, saying, "You think by giving me you have made me prosper, when it is God." And instead he gave to Melchizedek, the one who was forgotten. Now remember, so the once forgotten place and now remembered, the once forgotten now remembered place is the place of tithe. The helped place is the place of alms. The honored place is the place of offering. The paid for services rendered place is the place of seed. The best or the first of its kind, and therefore caught by surprise, is the place of first fruit. You get it? So I'll start again. The once forgotten, now remembered place is the place of tithe. The helped place is the place of alms. The honored place is the place of offering. The paid for services rendered place is the place of seed. The best or the first of its kind, and therefore caught by surprise, is the place of first fruit. I have a principle I just practice. I want to love my neighbor as I love myself, is what the Bible teaches, right? And I want to love my God with everything that I am, as the Bible again says, right? But this simply means I can only love them with the love that I am, which is the love I love myself with. You understand? Which is the things I would only do for me. You understand? So this logic told me that if I want 100% of a thing, I also want 100% of a thing for God, for my neighbor. You understand? But you can't get 200% out of one thing, because one thing is simply 100%. What you can get though is a split in half thing, 50%. I understand that in the day I am caught by surprise, having not pre-planned to split anything, and God has done me a service, or is about to do me a service. or is about to bless me, or has blessed me because it's the first of its kind, and I find myself in the presence of God, I give 100%. You understand? And on the day I am prepared, which is the majority of the days, I split my assets within 50-50. So there will always be 50% that will be there for tithes, seeds, and offerings. When it comes to harvest, God says of the seeds you harvest, some are for feeding and some for seeding back into the ground. So do not keep all the harvested seeds, something you can give, which is everything there is. Whatever you've harvested, right, you can seed it back, right? It's a seed in itself. So it's something you can give, which is everything there is. You can give anything for planting. Do not keep all the harvested seeds for planting, right? Some are meant for food. The Bible writes, keep some for food, right? It teaches such a topic, and yeah. So the ones for planting are investments, and the ones for eating are for use. Saving is for investment. Understand? So of the 50% that is God's, I just split in half, 25 to 25, right? And now that one of these 25% is to be saved for investment, right? And goes to invest in God-centered businesses when they pop up. That ensure I always have money for God. You understand? A business that can save a soul on its own. I do this for my 50%, and it becomes 25 again. And I save the 25% as investment money again. So the other 25% are for use. There's the 25% for God and the 25% for me. You understand? Faithfully seeding, tithing, and offering up the 25% that is God's whenever time requires it, and also using your own 25% where you see fit. You understand? If you see an investment that is God-centered, we are now talking about those savings, right? If you see an investment that is God-centered and you start to invest God's money, you can as well invest yours, because you are almost certain God will not sabotage his own money. With wisdom, he can do it. With wisdom, it can happen with wisdom, right? God, there's some forms of wisdom that seem, at first you think he's digressing, then he comes back to the grace code. You get it? So with wisdom, it's like with wisdom he can do it, he can sabotage himself, but rarely ever, and it will be for a greater achievement afterward. So if you do invest with him, you just know that the returns from the business are also as always split in half. But if you don't, that's his 100%. You understand? If you have invested in his 25% there, and you wait for wherever you invest your 25%, and you still have to split that again, because even there, that 100% is God who gives the power to acquire wealth, and is still to be honored regardless he gave you that power or not, because he's God. You understand? So rather invest with him. Then you just know that whatever you get, you split it. Yeah, it's simple like that. If you want a certain business, rather buy all of it. You understand? So that if it wasn't God themed, you can then make it. That counts too. You understand? The reason we say invest for God is to spread the culture of God-centered business. To spread the culture of God-centered businesses, right? That have systems and themes for God in their running. So he also is everywhere. To push out and away avenues of evil, which are always in the lukewarm businesses and which are neither hot nor cold. Because evil finds opportunity in these and ends up taking them. You understand? It's like we might say this business, we can't say it's devilish, but then it's not godly is either. So the devil has a tendency of finding opportunity. So you cannot be in between. God even says, "You who are lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth." It's not a place to be, because you are open to evil thoughts. You understand? It's like you're not taking advice from God. So one of these days you're going to mistakenly take advice from somebody wrong. You understand what I'm saying? If your business is serving God and has been set up that on its own it can save souls, it can, together with the savings of God, be invested into. You understand? So it might happen that all the 50% savings money, the 25 added to the 25 of God added to the 25 of yours, can be then invested into your business when you have a business that can save its own soul. That is God themed in almost all of aspects, its principles, its pricing, its whatever, even the encouragements there and whatnot. You understand? It's a calling. Businesses are callings too. Now you have heard that whatever you give, God returns. It returns pressed down, shaken together, running over, and it is directly placed into your personal address, into your bosom. You understand what I'm saying? You should know that the reason is because with the same measure that you measure, and he also measures back to you. You understand? So when he looks at his 50%, what he owns, it is always more than your 50% of what you own. So by that same metric, whatever returns is exceeding great, because God's 50% and your 50% are different. So when he returns you his 50%, it will be more, it will be pressed down, it will be shaken together and running over. You get what I mean? Your 50% will look like you gave nothing and he gave you everything, because he has more and you have less. You get what I mean? So he uses the same metric you use for him toward you. Then the first point I gave, I reminded you that no, the things that you think you have right now, that you have, but it's just a percentage you haven't given out there. You're just holding it for somebody else. It seems harsh, it seems unfair, but it's the wisdom of God that if they are willing to pay you unjustly, God will fix the unjust, the unjust, the lack of justice there, and will pay back somebody in another way. You understand what I'm saying? And you become the warehouse, the passing through place for that thing, the Passover place. Okay, let me just say, on the topic of lending and borrowing, give debts as though you are just giving. Do not give it unless you are not expecting return. Only give when you are willing to give it away without being returned. Give as though no one will ever return a debt. Give without charging interest. 2. All of this, the Bible talks about it in the New Testament. It talks about how you shouldn't charge interest. It talks about how you give as though you are just giving. You understand? All of this is taught in the New Testament, right? It is also therefore that if God wants you to give without expecting return, when you think of borrowing instead, go and ask for help and only take the offer that says you don't have to return this. Those are the types of borrowing that you should make. You should make even for yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Then work twice as hard to return. But if you fail, you are also covered by the grace of God that already requires them to give expecting no return. As he has required you to do that, and you are doing that, he also requires them to do that toward you. You understand? It's an instruction for everyone to fulfill the grace which is also written about that, which says, come and buy with no money. You understand what I'm saying? Freely we have given, freely we have received, freely we give. You understand? So on the other end, the lady who has I'll come back to this. Okay, so when I talk about giving, as I was talking about giving right now, you should understand it's to people in general, and not only to churches. And someone might ask, what if the person is lying to me that is asking and is borrowing or is asking for money and is lying to me as he's asking? If you have money for God, that's set aside. It doesn't matter the person is lying or not. Give that person. Because the reason he is lying or she is lying, in as much as she is lying or he's lying, the reason is there is still need for that money. You understand? It's like the need is still there. It's like, let's say somebody lies to get food, right? Guys, he makes many lies, but still there is a need that a human being has to eat. You understand? You should know that money is meant for use. People, you also need it. It's like if somebody has to offer you money right now and you say you don't need money, still you will. Most times, 100% of the times, unless you are Abraham, you will take that money. That's what I'm saying. That no, it doesn't come to a point where somebody is tricking you for money and doesn't need the money. They also need the money. That's why they're tricking you. So it's not like, and once you have these principles, God will show you people who are tricking you. Not so that you say, you're tricking me or what, but so that you just know. Sometimes prophecy comes so that you just know that, okay, this person was lying, but God requires that I give this person regardless. That's what love does. You understand? And sometimes, sometimes you might then be instructed that, no, there is a disaster that this person is scheming, so you shouldn't give them. But it only is if God has instructed you that way. Otherwise, if He didn't, then please, by all means, give those people, even if they are lying. Then you can borrow. You can also borrow from God, right? From God's share, if worse comes to worse, like or a real need arises. But don't easily panic and rush to take that money, because some problems, money, right, is sure to come after they come. So unless, the Bible talks about how you might walk and go left and go right, and you hear that the Lord hasn't yet spoken to you, right? But on getting right to the left or to the right, then the Lord, you hear a voice from behind you saying, "No, come this way." So it can happen that a problem comes first before you hear anything. You understand? Then you have to come out of that problem. So that's the thing, that don't panic with God's money and take it before you. Let me just put it this way: unless there is a deadline, right? Wait for the supply and split it righteously. God will supply for that problem. You understand? Unless there is a deadline, then you can borrow from God before using it for your problem, right? So it's like when the supply then comes, split that money before using it for your problem. If you if you fail to return God when there was a deadline and you had to take it, right? When you had to take some, you will not be held in debt. Like, you'll not be held, like, let's say, accountable to return that money, since you also lend for free. You understand? And expecting no return. It's like this concept of, if you are forgiving, I will also forgive you. That's the same concept with you. If you are lending others for free, he will also expect no return from you. It's like, with the same measure you measure, he measures unto you. But there are things that he will always be faithful to as God, because in as much as we are not faithful in certain things, God will always be faithful to His word. You understand? So He will not require these things of you if you borrow Him. But I'm saying that so that the devourer may be chased away from your stuff. Because in as much as God might not require these things, when you require His defense and you haven't done these things, it's almost impossible for Him to, because He has to measure, He has to give you that same measure that you gave to Him. He might not require the money, but when you need your money to be defended, now, He might not appear because you never defended His money. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like He's being unfaithful is being faithful to his principles. You understand? So he remains faithful, but you can be unfaithful. But to but to be faithful, try by all means to return if it was that you borrowed money, right? Then shares, this can happen, that giving spans to in as much as topics to do with inheritance and whatnot is like children. The Bible talks about how the inheritance of children is from their fathers. But I want to say that term fathers, they just means parents, from their guardians. You understand what I'm saying? So it's from their parents. You should be sure to know that your share, that 25% that you are saying for use, should be also used for your children. Also, but in as much, there will come a time when that 25% is not enough for your children. It's like it doesn't cover everything. So we will talk about down there. But we want you to get to a point where your 25% are like billions, are like millions, so that you are able to then cover the things that you need to cover for, right? But you should just know within you that the inheritance of your kids, they are from you. Also, the Bible talks about you who doesn't take care of his family has forsaken the faith, has become an infidel. So it also falls to you that you take care of your family. So all this money for God and whatnot that we're talking about really doesn't really center on your family and the people immediate to you. It's more to do with the people that are strangers to you, the people that you don't even know, because the world can give, but the Bible talks about how the world can give gifts to its own children. Very good gifts. How much more also that God will give very good gifts to you if the world can do the same. So what I'm saying is, that's not what is being tested of you right now. What is being tested is the giving that you say, it's from a stranger, it's from somebody. Otherwise, your kids, we know for a fact, even if we don't tell you that their inheritance is from your money, you are still going to give them an inheritance, unless maybe you have become an infidel. You understand what I'm saying? Your family, you still take care for them. Yeah. So, but I'm saying, if your share is not enough to care for your family and for your children, then you can help them with the money with the God money, like the money that you set apart for God, which was meant for other strangers, for God and people for God. Yeah. He who says he loves me and fails to love his neighbor does not know love. You understand? The Bible talks about this. You love God and give to him via people. You understand? Yeah. So this is the season for your money. This is why I'm talking about this. It's coming. You see money gravitate to you starting tomorrow. When I say a season for money, if you hear me talking today, it's tomorrow I mean. You understand? Starting even within these hours, but tomorrow it's a specific date that I know for a fact. Prophetically, I'm given those type of dates. You understand? I'm given Saturday. It's going to be spectacular. Okay, so and let's act out these principles, right? And see them multiply our finances until they are exceedingly great. You understand? So there's this concept, right? If you have a concept of saving or of investing, know for a certain fact that you are going to make money, no matter what. See how easy life becomes that you are now having savings and you have money that will, from those savings that goes to investment, which is all of that money, right? As investments come up, don't be too rushed to invest. Be too rushed to save. Don't be too rushed to invest. Investment, God has to speak to you, then you invest into it. It's like inquire of the Lord before you just invest. You understand? No, because you want to, the place you are going to, you want to cultivate not only cultivate with your money, you understand, to add your money into that thing. You want to cultivate also the spirit of pleasantness and the spirit of peace. It's like you want to, so that what you are giving to the ground, you are giving it in physically through money. You're also giving what you're giving to that business, right? You're also giving it physically and you're also giving it spiritually. So the same spirit that you give it of pleasantness and of peace, because you have been instructed and you are fully aware, and it's a place where your heart yearns to go to, and your heart is free there. That's what a job is. It's a place of refuge. It's a place where you run to, not a place where you feel burdened to go. You understand? It's a place of refuge where it should be pleasant. So those are the type of investments that you need, because you need to cultivate that spirit of pleasantness and peace into that place you're working, so that it provides for you pleasantness and peace. Have you noticed that somebody might till the same land and not produce anything, and somebody who till the same land and produce something? We are not saying this applies for all cases, but what it means is there is a spirit he is depositing into the ground, and the ground cannot give. It's like how it's like you cannot give your all to somebody who attacks you all the time. So you are always on a guarded space. That's what the ground will do to you. That's what the business will do to you, up until somebody who can give pleasantness and peace. And there are certain areas you will never be able to give pleasantness and peace, because they are not pleasant to you. They are not peaceful to you. It's like your calling, the place of your calling is the place where you feel pleasant and when you feel peaceful. You understand? So those are the places you should go to, so that you give pleasantness and peace will be what will be given to you. You understand what I'm saying? By the ground. Right now, when I was saying that it doesn't mean all the time that a person gets to a place and it doesn't produce, it's because sometimes there are seasons of testing that can happen. But I'm talking about when it is now in the long run, and it's now, is this the place you're called to or not to? You understand? So understand this one thing. This power that we talk about in Christianity is just one power. You understand what I'm saying? It can do vast number of things. God created world. God created peace. Like this calmness in the earth. God created whatnot and whatnot. God created a lot of things. You understand? Wealth is there as well. So it's a topic we will always talk about. God talks about wealth multiple times. If you look at the Bible, it's wealth through and through. But it also talks about how you should not make money your God. This is how we don't make money our God. We put principles on it. We govern it. We move it towards God. It is subjected to the mighty God. You understand? Money is a spirit, not a bad one. Doesn't mean it. You understand? There are people who worship money. Those are the ones that worship that God, that idol. It's called what? It's called okay, I forgot the name. Jesus mentioned it one time, the spirit, that one. Yes, but then there is the spirit I'm talking about, the spirit of money from a godly side. There is also, it's like if there is a good angel that defends a certain thing, there's also a bad angel that attacks that same thing. So I'm now talking about the good spirit for this side. You should understand, if you subject it to God, it becomes the good spirit. It gravitates to people who know how to use these principles. That's what it does. The spirit of money gravitates. So I'm saying this power is just one power. The power that heals, the power that... It's the same power that causes money to gravitate to you. The money will come to you miraculously. It will come. Whether it's something it's from people, it's from angels. You understand? Sometimes they will just drop into your accounts. Sometimes whatnot. It will be. It's money requires a law. There's a law to money. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not after you being like, let's say, so that you are drawn to it. No, don't be drawn to it. We are here so that you give it. You see, I was teaching giving here. If you take the theme scripture there, talks about unfair. I will read it again when I'm rounding up. So Saturday, you should know that and the scale of the money that's coming on Saturday, you should know it's something that can cause you to build something. You understand what I'm saying? You can build with the money that's coming to on Saturday. Just set it in your mind that you are now going to be doing this principle, to be trying after this principle. You know, sometimes it might happen that you are not able to exhaust everything in one felt swoop. You are still training your body to respond to this. As you're still training your body, you might be tested, you might feel tested by this, right? Try what you can try right now and see if it will not produce. That's what God says, test me and see if I will not open the windows. So I'm saying, test some parts that you can do here from this teaching and see if it will not open up. It will be easier for you to then move into the other parts. That's what Christianity is. Christianity is a journey from movement. It's a movement from perfection to perfection. It's like there's a level of perfection you can apply today. There's another you will apply on another day. It's perfection when a kid messes up, but he's trying to eat when he is still young. You understand? Or she's still young. So the parent will be celebrating. The kid is trying to eat, even if he's messing up, because the messing up part and the eating part is perfect for those years. You understand? So it's perfect. Don't worry. Take what you can take now. Try it so that you see. But sometimes don't cut certain things that are not meant to be cut. In fact, there's a grace already that is working. Not your grace, but my grace, because I'm the one that is applying these things. I'm teaching you what I apply. So you, for a fact, you will see these miracles start to happen. These financial miracles start to happen. Only because the one declaring them into your life is already doing this stuff. So it will take ground. It doesn't matter you are missing certain points. Just try towards this. Set your mind towards this. That's what Christianity is. It's a journey of change. We call this place Character Nation because we are changing you in your character. You understand what I'm saying? Because God ordains or God anoints the character of a man. He anoints, he setteth up the basest of men, the humblest of people. That's what he does. So be humble to enough to hear this teaching, these principles, and to set your mind towards them. So so I'm also going to be, promotion money is coming, right? And I talked about the dwelling place. There is going to be it's now past 11. You understand what I'm saying? It's now past that time where you should have your own place to dwell, your own place. So what's coming is money that you can build with. You understand? You can build it. Understand? And the places I mentioned earlier, I said, no, don't think that it's only your own church that requires tithe. No, everywhere requires tithe. Everywhere requires seed. Everywhere requires offering. Everywhere requires... In as much as men of God can teach that, right? Still, they are teaching something. You understand? It's like they are teaching something. I'm just here to add to that. You understand? I'm here to add to that, to add more clarity. It's not wrong what they are teaching. It's not wrong. Just know giving is giving. It's for everybody. Even give to yourself. You should. You understand? There is instruction to give to yourself. That's what I was talking about when I said, no, don't keep all the seeds for seeding. Some should be eaten. You should eat. You understand? Just know which percentage is yours. It helps you govern your money. You understand? Not money govern you. You'll be like, when you have it, your heart is pumping. You are almost having a heart attack, heart palpitations, just because so you should. No, it shouldn't be like that. You have them right now when we are giving you this teaching, so that you know for a certain fact. In fact, you will be having them right now, so that you know for a certain fact money is gravitating to you. You have already, right now, you have received it. I'm just confirming it. I'm I'm prophesying. Let me say it that way. Let me say it that way. God does say, "Test me and see if I will not open the windows of heaven," right? So also finally there's a lady here, you know Ruth, right? You know Ruth, the lady that got her husband Boaz. Yeah, this is the genealogy of Jesus, right? So there's a lady here I'm trying to prophesy to, who has had Ruth was an example, right? It was an example, a biblical example that you know the story of Ruth is about her husband, right? Okay. Now I'm talking about the prophetic part. There's this lady who has had three men promise or propose her with a ring, right? That lady should inbox me. 3 men proposed with a ring. That lady should inbox me. When I say 3 men proposed, I'm just saying 3 men proposed. It doesn't matter the order they proposed with. It doesn't matter if they are proposing now or they proposed in a different set of. I'm just saying 3 men proposed to you. They all had rings. They had rings. Okay, they had rings, right? They had a ring. Let me say that. Then the ring of promise, right? So inbox me. I have a prophetic word for you. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much. I know it's long. I know. But Jesus, Master Jesus, will do these things for you. The Holy Spirit is gearing up to do these things for you. In fact, it was set into motion a long time ago. It's your time now. God set this thing in motion. People, let's run with it. Thank you so much. These are the principles of money. This is what I was talking about. So the closing part is I'm reading you the verse again so that you hear it again. The topic is called diverse measures or diverse weights, which is differing weights or differing measures, which is also dishonest scales. You understand what I'm saying? An abomination to Yahweh, differing and weights and scales dishonest are not good. You get what I mean? That's the verse, which is Proverbs 20 verse 23. Diverse weights are an abomination to the Lord, and dishonest scales are not good. And I will repeat again that, like the common saying in the world, in socialism, everyone shares the wealth. In communism, everyone shares the poverty. Thank you and thank you.